Right. So anyway, I have one now, and I don't know how good it is, but just bear with me. We'll see how this goes. So I've worked at a few hotels. This is the first hotel I ever worked at, a place called the Indian Lakes Resort. At the time, it was a Hilton Hotels and Resorts flagship brand, located in the Chicago suburbs. 310 rooms, 250 acres, 27-hole golf course, indoor pool, outdoor pool. I think 6 food and beverage outlets, 50,000 square feet of catering space. So this is a large property. And it was also a failing hotel going down the tubes as we were working there. This was a hotel that was very, very top heavy in management, a lot of expensive people working there, a lot of heavily tenured associates. Just a lot of people. You're not going to be able to charge what you need to charge in that area to be able to support that kind of a property. So just imagine it's falling apart, basically. So we had, not we, meaning, and Greg and I also worked here, by the way. A lot of you who know us know that Greg hired me here as my first hotel job. It was Greg's first time being a department head, so of course he makes a lot of mistakes as you're first starting out. So his first mistake was hiring me.
Oh, okay. I was like, where's he going with that?
No, but anyway, so Greg and I are working at this hotel, right? So, of course, the people, they're trying to save this hotel from failure, so they decide, I know what we're going to do. We're going to host a New Year's Eve gala here at the hotel, and we are going to do this package where there's you basically come in, food and beverage experience, band or DJ, I can't remember what kind of entertainment it was, drinking, dancing, open bar, the whole shebang. Amenity in the room, I think you got like chocolate covered strawberries in your room, and a late checkout that was like 2 or 3 or 4 o'clock or something obscene late checkout, and free breakfast.
I believe it was a 2 o'clock late checkout was included.
2 o'clock late check, right? So first of all, right off the bat, you're losing money on this. Free breakfast, amenity in the room, open bar, food at the event. Like, you're just, you can't charge enough to make money on this. But we did it anyway. So we get all these people who are coming in for this function, and New Year's Eve night was rocky, but it was okay. But where it really started to get shaky was New Year's Day. Now, New Year's Day was pretty much all hands on deck on the front office because we were actually flipping the hotel. And I can't remember was it a family reunion? There was a group coming in.
I don't remember a group necessarily, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Either way, it was just busy the next day. Like, New Year's Day was busy, and probably low rates and people on vacation. So that was another thing. Part of this hotel, big market for this hotel, was people from the inner city of Chicago who would drive to the suburbs for cheap rates, swim in the pool. We had a jacuzzi, like almost like a staycation at a resort that was just a quick drive away, with very cheap. Yeah, low supervision. Anyway, that's actually that same market segment is the reason why the hotel lost its occupancy license in the first place. Later on, there was a mass shooting. We have a video on it.
All right. So anyway, back.
Yeah. So anyway, New Year's Day rolls around, and we're basically, so it's Greg working. He's the front office manager. I'm nothing. I think I'm just a front desk agent at the time. But I think this day is also what helped me get promoted. Probably. I don't know. Greg.
Yeah. I think this helped solidify your case to become a supervisor.
Yeah. So Greg was working. We had a supervisor there named Jesus who was working. I was working, and then like 2 or 3 other agents were working. Plus, we had somebody answering the phone and couple other people. So we're pretty beefy staffed. And we had this director of housekeeping named
We'll call him B.
what was Bill.
We can call him Bill.
Bill.
There's a lot of Bills out there. We can call him Bill.
We had this guy named Bill, director of housekeeping, and this guy came in. This maybe was his first week or something, first 2 weeks. He maybe lasted a month total or something like that. And I'm pretty sure he told everybody I was getting married because he saw me waiting inside the catering office, and he was serious about it.
That's because we told him you were getting married, and he believed it. I was 17, 18 years old, and this man believes he's getting married.
He was like, because one day he saw me sitting in the catering office, and there was a wedding magazine sitting on the thing, and I just happened to pick it up and look at it, and then all of a sudden I think he may have asked somebody, and then boom, the joke turned into this whole thing. But anyway, this guy was an idiot, and he came in, whipping his junk around because he was at the Kalahari resorts and all these other like places, director of housekeeping here, union here, like he had this like hot shot resume. And I'm not going to get into some more things that I want to get into, and I'll mention that off the record, but I'm not going to do it here, not on this forum. But this guy was lost, beyond lost. He didn't know. So basically, to make a long story short, we have no rooms ready. Everyone's coming in to check in. I actually recall in the moment using this terminology, the line was like a soup was like a soup kitchen of people waiting because we didn't have again, keep in mind, failing hotel, so the clientele looked homeless. Honestly, people were coming in, and it was like a soup kitchen line. Everyone was just waiting, and it was out all the way down, going out the door of people waiting to check in. So basically, at some point, Greg and Jesus left to start cleaning because they were getting yelled at by everyone's getting screamed at. So typically you don't want to go help clean rooms, but at this point, I mean, Greg, you could probably say like cleaning rooms was probably like the better of the two.
oh, definitely.
At that point, it's like, let me get out of here and go and clean rooms.
So I can add to your story just a little bit here. The reason why I decided to go clean rooms is because it was 2:45. Our check-in time is 3:00. And I go to Bill. I said, Bill, what's going on with the rooms? We have 7 ready rooms right now, and I have a bunch of arrivals coming in. What's the status? Do you need me to help flip rooms? Because they were flipping rooms manually in Onkview.
Right.
They weren't punching from the room.
There was no phone system that worked. So
yeah. So I'm like, do you need me to help you flip some rooms over? Like, just let me know what's going on. He's like, I have no idea what's going on. I was like, what? What? What do you mean you have no idea what's going on? He's like, yeah, I don't know. The supervisors are the ones doing it. I was like, this is not good. So Jesus was starting at 3:00 that day. He walked through the door. I'm like, Jesus, take your jacket off. We're going to clean rooms. And that's when we took off and left the desk to Kyle.
So he basically put me in charge at the desk. And I'm working with, I think, Shannon and Clarissa and like maybe Esme.
No, you had Paola in the gift shop. She came over to help you for a while. Right. I think you had Shannon.
Okay.
But anyway.
So, yeah. So I had a couple people, but green people who weren't, they were people that were there working. That's what they were. And basically it was just basically a soup kitchen line getting screamed at. Director of housekeeping doesn't know what's going on. It was just one berating of
this chaos
after the next, absolute chaos and anarchy at the hotel. Keep in mind, everyone's burnt out because we all worked New Year's Eve, obviously busy. So we worked New Year's Eve PM because that was when it was busy. And then we came in the next day to work because it was busy in the morning and the afternoon. So we were working. So keep in mind, this is all happening. And then I don't know at what point did this happen, but this was the first time that I almost cried at work. And it was also the last time I almost cried at work.
Wow.
And it was so this was all happening. I was getting screamed at. There's no leadership, obviously, because Greg abandoned us. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, what technical difficulties from Kyle? Oh man, I hate when that happens. I guess he'll be
Kyle
back.
abandons
Never.
us. It's
Sorry.
crazy.
Hospitality with Greg and Tom forever and ever. Oh,
So
It came in with the ding too.
so I almost cried because at some point these women came up to me and they said, we're supposed to have free breakfast. I don't know why this was so emotional to me at the time, but we're supposed to have free breakfast with our room. And I looked and I was like, there was genuinely no free breakfast. And I give stuff away sometimes. I'm not one of those.
Back then, Kyle, you gave away a lot.
Well, rightfully so, because we had nothing.
Yeah,
no
I know.
amenities. Yeah. But anyway, so I was like, no, there's no breakfast associated with this reservation or whatever I said. And then they like would not let up. They just leaned into me. And it was like unrelenting and they wouldn't let me go. And then like, I just like remember handing them like 2 breakfast coupons and just like fucking like just going back into like my turtle shell. And then handing them these breakfast coupons. And it was really difficult. I didn't want to give them the breakfast coupons because they were mean people. And you want to help people. Like, I have no problem giving something away. Like, if we fail on our promise to good people who are coming in with expectations of something, like we would have families come in and they would get like connecting rooms, like good people who are coming in to like be together. And then like, they would want to go swimming with their kids and the pool would have dirty diapers in it because like we had other clientele who didn't care. So like if that happens, like I have no problem giving you something because like we have an apparent failure. But like if you're so rude and like you have no right to breakfast, like it really hurt me to give that away. And I felt like a lump in my throat, like I was, and like tears in my tear ducts, like I was gonna cry. And then I went into the back and I just like fucking like swallowed the lump. And just like fucking, gave myself a little bit of like a you're not going to do this right now kind of talk. And then I remembered telling myself that you'll never let this kind of stuff affect you like this ever again. And sure enough, it never has. I've gone through way worse and I've never even felt like I'm going to be crying or anything like it's never happened. Now, granted, I was 17 or whatever at the time, but it's that's still basically an adult, so I shouldn't be crying anyway at 17. But it was so emotional because it was New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, built up, angry. Everyone was angry, and when
because they've got the expectation about that they should have.
Everyone's angry. Yeah. It's like, who wants to be in an environment where no one likes you and everyone's angry? So anyway, that's my story.
I feel like I'm reevaluating my story now because I don't know. Maybe I'm gonna go too hard here.
No, not at all. It was not a situation caused by the sales department. No, well, it wasn't. It was an operations problem, but part of the problem too was the New Year's ticket package, right? Because if everybody had a 2 p.m.
package, man.
Because everybody had a late checkout, or most of the people, like a majority of the people staying with us on New Year's Eve, had a guaranteed late checkout, which is why housekeeping was lost and behind. Because all these people were in their rooms until 1, 2 o'clock, and check-in times at 3. It didn't work. It should have been an amenity for like a premium page, maybe, and
with a cap on it, and then also knowing that we were busy the next day. No one planned it right. And we definitely lost money on it. There's no way you can make money on something that stupid. So
yeah, I wonder how many rooms we had a comp or discount when they weren't available at that time. Dylan had Dylan had a negative 40 calls by Marriott RM. They basically said, "Best of luck ironing that out." I was shocked, thinking you aren't going to help at all. Wow,
and that is unacceptable.
100%.
We had close to a negative 40 situation once at Oak Lawn, Greg, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
That was
It all worked out, though.
It all worked out. We fixed it.
You just put
If-
the out of order rooms back in the system, and you're good.
No, we didn't
Right?
have that. No. It all worked out. It all washed. Every revenue manager will be happy to hear that it washed.
It'll wash.
It'll
It'll
wash.
wash. It'll wash. It'll be fine.
So I've got. I guess I'm next up to bat because we're waiting for Greg's amazing story that none of us wanted.
And I
Comment-
apologize. I went over my time, so I apologize.
Yeah, only by like double. It's fine.
Well,
Dollar pen.
so back when I was working at Hilton McCormick, I'll have it during football season.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. They had college team checking out late. NFL checking. The quarterback was not ready.
Wow.
Dude, that's a failure.
Yeah.
That's the star of the
So-
team.
It was. I don't know, Kyle, if you had started working at Hilton McCormick yet at this point. It might have been just around the time that you started. So let me know if this rings a bell. But it was a spring night, and I'm working at the front desk. I was a GSA at the time, and it's just myself and the other GSA. So there's two on the shift. And then we've got our director of operations working in the back. And our director of ops at this hotel was pretty much the front office manager for all intents and purposes for quite some time until Kyle came around. And then, well, that's a different story. So I'm working at the front desk of this lovely property. It's getting later into the evening, and it kind of slows down at the desk. There's not much of a line, so I kind of step away from the front desk to check the front area of the front desk, make sure that everything's together. And I look over at this property has a sliding glass door at the entrance, and then there's an option of 3 different elevator bays when you walk in. Well, I look in at the entrance and I noticed there is a trail of blood leading from the entryway to the elevator bank on our porcelain tile floor. And it's not like a small trail of blood. This is like it was gushing. Like this whoever was bleeding was not like with a bloody nose, like they were hurt. Because the blood was very, very thick. So I kind of take a look at that, and I go, I'm going to tell my manager about that. So I calmly go to the back office, and I was like, hey, you might want to come out here. There's a trail of blood leading into the elevator bank. And the director of operations thought I was joking. She was like, go back to work. And I was like, no, like, come on out. There's a trail of blood. So she comes out, and we see the trail of blood leading to the elevator. She's like, well, did you go to the elevator yet? And I was like, no. So together we go to the elevator, and we press the call button, and the door opens, and inside of the elevator is a massive pool of blood. Just blood everywhere. There's blood on the walls, blood on the hand railings, blood on the floor, and the blood that was on the floor had begun to pool into like a large puddle of blood. Now, I am not one to be squeamish, but I have not seen that amount of blood outside of a human body in my entire life, and I was blown. I was like, oh my God. I had to take a step away and gag for a second. So I was like, okay, well, we should call the police. This is a lot of blood. And whoever is bleeding clearly needs an ambulance. So the director of operations calls Chicago police. It takes a while for Chicago police to come. And in the meantime, I don't know why. In my opinion, it's potentially like a crime scene situation. Like, do you want to clean the blood right away?
Right.
So you don't really necessarily want to touch what had occurred. The police haven't gotten here yet, so they need to inspect and examine the evidence. My director of operations immediately calls the houseman and says, "You've got to come and like start popping this up."
Because she's very neurotic. So
So
yeah, just shut the elevator down.
no.
Why would you do that? That makes so much sense.
So she has the house person come and starts mopping up the lobby, and then she has me, and now it's just me and the other GSA. She has me. She says, "Okay, so you're gonna stand at this elevator bank and you're gonna redirect people to the other elevators, so that they don't see the houseman who's cleaning the elevator behind you, because it's a lot to clean up." And I was like, "All right." And then she calls the engineer, and rather than asking the engineer to put the elevator on hold, she's asked the engineer to go floor by floor to find out what floor the blood comes out of the elevator on. So the engineer goes up and does that.
And
Well,
this was 23 floors, right?
23 floors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of floors.
So on the floors, like in the lobby, it's tile, but on the floors it's carpet. So so the engineer goes up and starts looking for the blood. In the meantime, the other GSA gets a rush at the front desk. And I'm standing there at the elevator bay, like just standing there. And my counterpart is like gesturing for me to like get over here, like to help her, because she hasn't been read in. I haven't been able to tell her yet. The manager is off doing something else, so she wasn't able to tell her. So she doesn't know that like I have a task now, that I have to like prevent guests from seeing all this blood and this like cleanup that's happening. So she's like gesturing, like, "Get up! What are you doing? Come over here! I need help!" And I'm like, no.
No information. Just no.
I'm just gonna stand right here at this elevator.
She's like, "Why?"
You should have been like,
Yeah.
Something.
So then, as I'm directing people to the other elevators, a couple comes up to me and they're like, "Hey, can you take our picture?"
That's so funny.
And I'm like, "Yeah, I can take your picture." And they're like, "Okay, well, we want to take it over on the other side of the lobby, over by like the fireplace."
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, "Oh, really? We could just take it right here."
What about right here?
How about right here? No, I was like, it had quieted down at this point. So I'm like, okay. So like, I like peek back. There's no other guests in the lobby. I'm like, okay, let's go. So like, we both go together to the fireplace. I like take the picture, and then they like seem satisfied, and they're like, "Oh, can I get another one?" I'm like, "All right,
Okay."
take the next one. And then I go back to my screening duty. Well, so then the manager comes over and she said, "Well, where did the rest of the blood come from?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And she said, "Well, there's a trail of blood leading from the other elevator to the exit."
Whoa.
I was like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah, there's a trail of blood." So we came over to the other set of elevators. There was another trail of blood now leading from those elevators to the front entrance now again.
So that somebody walked right past where you were supposed to be.
While I was taking a picture
Wow.
of the guests, they had snuck past. It was like 2 pictures.
Yeah, so he's walking around dismembered, and Tom's taking pictures. How many pictures do you need?
I know, right? Like,
Bruce, great to see you.
Bruce, good to see you. So, she was like, "Well, did you see them leave?" And I was like, "No, I was taking pictures of the guests." And she's like, "What the fuck are you taking the guests for?"
Oh, that's nice.
Oh.
So, the police ended up coming. They never saw the blood, so they were like, "This is not a big deal," and they left because the blood had been cleaned up at that point. And it turns out they did do a sweep of like the area hospitals. Somebody had broken into a car outside of the hotel and had cut their arm on the glass.
Ah,
And then they came into the hotel. They had a room with us. They went up to their room and then promptly left their room on another set of elevators and left the hotel.
Just leaving a trail of blood everywhere they
Just
went.
leaving a massive trail of blood behind
they
them.
identified the robbery committer, I guess, the robber, because
Yeah, well, there's blood evidence everywhere.
yeah, and then a trail leading to the door that they're a registered guest to.
That's my story.
Sometimes criminals
That's great.
aren't. Wow, that's a great story. See, you had the best story, Tom. I'm just gonna call it quits here.
That's a really good story.
No, that was good. Yeah, you downplayed your story. I'm glad you went with that one. So is it my turn?
It is your turn.
All right. I'll be a little bit quicker because it's the same hotel that Kyle and I worked at, Indian Lakes Resort. I won't tell you how many acres and how many golf courses and restaurants we had. I think Kyle already covered all that. So this is fall of 2016. It was right before I left to go to the WIT. I think Kyle might have already left to go to college, so I don't think he was there anymore.
I did.
Our chief engineer had departed the property. His name was Doug. Nice guy, but he left to take on another opportunity. So our management company obviously found a new chief engineer, and he was highly recommended, came from within the management company. So, we were all excited to bring him in. I can't remember his name if my life depended on it right now. So we'll just say his name was John. John's a very, very common name. So John worked for a couple weeks at this point of the story. So I'm working a shift, and the Bloomingdale Police Department, the paramedics showed up through the front door. I was like, hey, what's going on? We're going up to this room. We got a call of an overdose. I was like, that's weird. We didn't get any phone calls at the front desk. I think it was like the second floor. So, went up the stairs in the elevator with them. Second floor, we open the door, or they get in there and they start, helping the lady that's in there. And I'm in the hallway and I'm looking in the room and I see our chief engineer is in the room. I was like, John, what are you, like, after they got the lady out and they took her on the stretcher, I'm like, John, what are you doing here? It's like, oh, this is my girlfriend. She was staying here, and because she just needed a place to stay, and blah blah blah. I'm like, this is weird. Like, does anybody know that she was staying here? He's like, no, nobody knew. So I'm like, okay, well, this is a weird situation, right? Because I had never been somewhere where an employee's girlfriend was staying in the hotel with him because he was there, unregistered, and overdosed. Like, it was a clearly overdosed on drugs. I think it might have been heroin. I think she was doing heroin.
Wow.
Yeah, it was nuts. So of course I immediately call my general manager, who great general manager he was. He's the one that didn't show up on New Year's Day when we needed his help cleaning rooms. But I call him. I'm like, hey, this is what's going on. It's kind of a weird situation. So I have to tell John, like, hey, you need to go, and HR and the GM will reach out to you on Monday, because this was like a Friday or Saturday, I think, that this happened. I'm like, yeah, they'll reach out to you on Monday. You have to go, and you can't be back on property. And he's like, okay, all right, that's fine. And he leaves. So obviously everybody at the hotel, or at least in the front desk and engineering, they kind of knew what happened. We didn't have security, but then I get a call that they saw him back in the hotel. So one thing I can tell you too, I forgot to mention, is all the door locks in this hotel, we had key deadbolts. So like, you actually have to use a physical key to open these deadbolts. The reason we had that is because we had an Orthodox Jewish groups that would stay with us all the time during their I forgot what it's called.
Sabbath.
Their Sabbath, thank you. And so they can't use electronics. So we had those keys. So we had locked that room up, deadbolted it. We didn't want anybody going in there and touching it until our GM can come in and do whatever they're going to do to investigate. And in case police needed to go in there, I don't know. So I heard he came in there. So I'm like, where the hell did he go? So I'm trying to find him in the hotel, and I go up to the room, and the room had been opened. Somebody had unlocked that door. We forget that the engineer has the keys to the hotel. So I am looking for him along with the other engineers. I'm searching all the stairwells. I'm going everywhere trying to find this guy. I find him in the stairwell. He's got a garbage bag full of stuff from the room. He was in the room trying to clean it up and get rid of evidence that they were in the room. There was gallons of milk in the room, which I've heard you can give people milk if they're close to overdosing on heroin. I don't know. That's what I've heard. So, yeah, but that's what I've heard from I forgot who told me that when we were there. Yeah, so I found this guy, and we had already called Bloomingdale police to come, and because he's not supposed to be here. Yeah. Right. And I had called my GM back. I'm like, hey, I heard he's back. He's like, he's got to go. If you need to call the police, call the police. So I find him I'm like, John, you're not supposed to be here. I already told you this. He's like, I know. I just wanted to clean up the room a little bit. I'm like, no, you need to go, or else I'm going to have to call the police. And right as I'm walking John out, the police show up. So it's safe to say that John got fired from his position there. Was the funniest part is that the day that he got fired, and I wish I was there for this, he got walked out by the GM and HR, and his girlfriend, who at Overdose, was in the parking lot, and she attacked our general manager.
Oh my gosh.
She attacked him.
I forgot about that part.
Yep. I omitted that part earlier just for you. So she attacked him, and I don't think she actually got any hits on him, but she wanted to. She was trying hard, but I think John was holding her back because he didn't want her to go to prison. So that is probably one of the craziest things I've ever had to deal with in my time in hotels. Yeah, I feel like Tom's was better. We should have ended with Tom's.
I feel like that was both of you guys had great stories.
Oh, thanks.
Tom is just a very visual storyteller.
He is.
As a creative director,
yep,
he knows how to tell a story.
That's why I should have just gone first and got it over with. Or I should have followed up Kyle. But Kyle, you also had a guest that killed himself that you checked in at Indian Lakes.
Yep.
Called 911 from his room and shot himself in the head. And Kyle had checked him in, an hour or two before that?
Yeah, if that.
Yep. And then we also had...
I remember his first and last name vividly. Even to this day. He was actually a police officer.
Was he? I didn't know that part.
He was, yeah.
Oh, that's sad.
He was. And I remember, it was interesting because I remember somebody was telling me this guest killed themselves. And I knew who it was before they told me who it was. And I was able to recall it. I just knew because that guest was memorable to me. I remember saying oh, do you have a preference of this or that? Do you have that? No, I don't care. Literally zero opinion about anything. And then he put a pillow over his head, shot the pillow, and killed himself. Therefore, shooting himself as well.
Yeah. Yep.
So anyway, on that note, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it.
What a great note to end.
Yeah, wow.
We very much appreciate you guys coming in and listening to this. We'll do more of these types of episodes.
Yeah, let us know if you enjoyed this one. More. Yeah, this is a little bit different.
We're waiting on your feedback. So
I think we can definitely do a Tales from Indian Lakes thing because there was a lot of crazy stuff that happened. You know how many times I had dogs running through the front door? We'll save that for another time. Yeah. We'll be back on Thursday. We're gonna have our good friend Dylan Beaumont.
Oh, I'm not gonna be here on Thursday, by the way.
Oh yeah,
because I'm traveling that day. So I'll see you guys.
Oh yeah, that's
Tuesday.
Right.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Dollar pen.
But we've got this beautiful, beautiful graphic of our upcoming episode number 43. 5 things you do that annoy hotel staff and how to avoid them. So looking forward to seeing Dylan on that one.
Looking forward to it. We'll see you Thursday. You'll see Kyle next week, right? You'll be
Tuesday.
You'll be back for Tuesday. All right. everybody have a wonderful night. Good night, guys.
Good night.
Bye, everybody.